this will take me just a few minutes to get this all together here. But also at the same time, yeah, I can't do the order management stuff today because this is BloodHound. So, right, but there are a bunch of different BloodHound parts here that are needed for this complex level of order management here. So that's what I need to do, is break out the BloodHound parts for the order management parts, to do that. So the main issue here, trying to think through, is the mixing and matching of a 24-hour session versus an RTH session. That does make things more complex with NinjaTrader. I wish NinjaTrader would simply provide, an RTH daily bar, but they don't. You kind of have to generate one yourself here. Instead of trying to figure this all out at once in your head, we'll just start taking one little piece at a time. So that's probably, the best reason why you want to write things down, in individual, pieces like this, bite-sized pieces, write down each condition separately so you can just step through this and only have to focus on one piece at a time. So instead of trying to figure everything out at once. So we'll just work on the identifying whether the RTH daily bar closes at the lower 25% of the bar. So we're going to need a minute chart here because we are dealing with a 24-hour session, right? So if you want to place orders outside the RTH, well, you have to have a chart that also has data outside of RTH, right? So the way NinjaTrader works is if I pull up, let me go into my data series here, right? So if we open up the data series and we can, specify what the trading hours are for the chart, right? So if I wanted to, I could say, okay, we want a chart, that only shows me the RTH. I could do that. And of course, the problem with that is, where is it at? Here we go, right? So there's no bars during the overnight session. So there's no way that, any strategy could submit an order. So there'd be no way for your strategy to place an order at 130 if there's no 130 bar, right? Hopefully that makes sense, right? You have to have a bar on your chart in order to place an order at that time. So we need to just run a regular chart, regular 24-hour chart, like so. Let's pull that back. There we go. Let's see, we're going to need another chart here as a visual aid. And this chart will be our daily bar chart, but we want it to be the RTH. So let's see, we need there. All right. So we have to create a minute bar using the RTH, trading hour session here. Let's see, we're going to need, let's put a few days of data on there. All right, so I believe this is the correct way to get daily bars of the RTH session, right? So, you should check with NinjaTrader support just to confirm that this is correct. As I recall off the top of my head, you create basically a daily bar using a minute chart, right? And then your trading hours has to be set to the RTH. So, all right, so that should be correct. So there we have a visual aid. And of course, the market doesn't really want to work with this here. So we have I think we only have one bar here that meets that 25% criteria. But let's see, we do have some other bars here that meet the opposite. All right, so we have bars closing at the high, right, at the upper 25%. So that's something to work with. I need more data on my chart here. now I should be able to move this over. What's going on here? Come on, Ninja. So there, so we can pick out at least a few days that meet that upper or lower criteria. So, well, actually, I guess let me ask. I haven't even asked this question yet. Do the opposite conditions apply for a short signal on this? So, yeah, all right, let me read through some of these comments here. Let's see, Tam says no short. Okay. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense for, trading the daily data. Let's see, 35%. All right. Yeah, so, all right. So Tam says we might need to adjust that to 35% based on the data that that the markets are giving us. Yeah, maybe 35% might generate some more signals here. We'll just move ahead and see what we get here. Okay, so first thing we need to do is generate basically this simulated daily bar data here onto our, BloodHounds, into BloodHound here. So let's open up BloodHound and let's go to the solvers tab, and we will need to add a chart to get the secondary time frame. Oh, that's right. Well, okay, just ran into a major hurdle here. Yeah, so within an indicator, I don't know if this is technically true anymore, as NinjaTrader is slowly kind of creating ways to kind of overcome these limitations here. But I think that still within an indicator, and remember, Bloodhound is just an indicator. It's a fancy looking indicator, but at the end of the day, it still has to follow all the basic rules of NinjaTrader indicators. And so what that means is that, an indicator, when you incorporate multiple time frames, right, or multiple data series into an indicator, you can't mix and match the trading hours. So, you'll notice that Bloodhound doesn't have the ability to select the RTH trading hours. So that right there is a game stopper. So I'm not able to generate these RTH daily bars within Bloodhound. Yeah, because we need 24-hour data, to place those trades at 1 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, and then of course Bloodhound also needs this RTH trading hour data, and you can see we can't mix and match that. Yeah, that's one of those finer details that's easy to miss until you actually get around to trying generating this data here. So yeah, I'm sorry, Tam, that's a hard stop right there. We can't mix and match RTH data with 24-hour data. Maybe that's probably why, I kind of intuitively knew to mention earlier on that I wish NinjaTrader would actually have an RTH daily bar dedicated, daily bar to that we could pick. It'd be really nice if we could just say, when we pick a daily bar as our time frame, that we could also pick a 24-day or an RTH day, and that would solve our problem right there. If NinjaTrader would add this extra type of daily bar data. I think theoretically, I think it might be possible for somebody to program an RTH daily bar like that. I think somebody could take the code from this daily bar and modify it so that it actually only generates an RTH daily bar. So I think that's theoretically possible. I don't know. There might be some limitations that prevent that, but all right. Yeah. So Tam wants to use the 24-hour daily bar. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we can do this using the 24-hour daily. All right, so I am adding in a daily bar data. And so this daily bar is going to be, whatever the chart is set to, right? So the chart that BloodHound's running on is just using the instrument settings, right? So it's whatever the instrument's 24-hour period, session ending times are. So let's see, we're going to need, all right, so let's go back to this chart and we're going to do the same. Let's just create a daily bar chart. And yeah, that put a year of data on there. There we go. So we only have to go back a couple of days, and we actually have a bar that meets, a 24-hour bar that meets our criteria there. So we'll be able to generate a signal, and it also looks like we have another one here too. Actually, it looks like we have quite a few. All right, so to go back, to be able to, go back far enough and generate a couple of signals on these bars here. Let me take my minute chart and let's just put 10 days of data on there, and that'll be plenty. All right, back to identifying the daily bar, closing at the lower 25%, right, of the well, no longer the RTH. All right, so we got this kind of cleaned up a little bit here. All right, so in BloodHound, we have our daily data here created, right, by using the chart button there to add a daily chart. So that way we have access to these daily bars here. And so if we want to identify whether the close of the bar, is at the lower 25% of the bar, well, we're comparing the close to that, lower 25% point, right? So to do that, we're going to need a comparison solver. There we go. Let's add a comparison solver. All right, so there's a name for our solver. And before I go too far, let me switch over to the logic tab and let's get that solver on the board. So we're going to go to existing nodes, and here we can see we have the daily time frame, right? And there's that solver on the daily time frame. So let's click on that solver, add it down here, and we can see on the top left corner of our solver, it tells us what time frame it's on. All right, so let's see. So for input A, that will be the close of the bar. So we need to change the type to price. And so there's the closing price. And then for input B, let's see, it's also going to be price. So we're trying to generate long signals. So for the price type long, we're going to use the low of the bar. And so for short, I know we're not going to generate short signals, but just add a habit just to keep yourself in a good habit, right? For a short signal, we're going to use the opposite price, right? The high of the bar, right? So now to roughly get 25%, to get that 25% of the bar, our difference here is going to be ATR. And we want to use a 1 ATR. Now you notice I deliberately said we're going to roughly get the lower 25%, right? And that's because the ATR doesn't calculate the actual range, right? ATR is average true range. So it's a slightly different range, right? It's not actually a true range. It's an average true range. So the name is misleading for the ATR. The range indicator actually gives you the technical range from the high to the low. But the ATR, you know, it incorporates the closing price in its calculation. So it's not the actual true range. It's an augmented range, but it'll get us within the ballpark, for what we want to do here. And we want a one period, right? Because we only want to know the range of each individual bar, right? So we don't want an average range of several daily bars, right? We only want the range of each individual bar. So your ATR period is going to be set to 1, right? And so now what we want is 25% or 0.25. All right, so now to figure out the outputs. And let's see, I believe we want the A equals B within this quarter of an ATR. So I believe that's what we want here. And you'll notice that on my computer, it still says 0 ATRs, even though we changed it to 0.25. So if the text here, if this text description isn't updating, click off and then click back on the solver. And now we can see it says A equals B within 0.25, right? So what is this? A equals B within. Well, A is the closing price and B is the low. So if the closing price is within 20, is within basically 25% of the low, right? A equals B within 0.25 ATRs. So that, let's test that out and make sure I did it right. So let's see here. This is the second. So we're going to have to scroll back a ways. Let's see, on the 5th. All right, yeah, it's actually saying that, yeah, so BloodHound's telling me that this bar here also meets the criteria. I guess so. Let's see. There. All right. So we can see I've got this fib extension on here to help us see those 25% levels. So actually the close is a little bit above. So this would be, the difference or the issue with using the ATR to, try and figure out a percentage base of a bar here. So let's see here. So you will need to kind of compensate for the ATR's, actual calculation there a little bit. So let's see here, maybe if I knock it down to 23%. Well, I'm just gonna playing around with these fractional ATR settings here. There we go. Right, so I dropped it all the way down to 0.15 there to get these long signals to go away, right? And again, these long signals were, were coming from this bar here on the 6th. So, and we can see that the close was quite a bit higher than the lower 25% there, right? So let me take this. All right, we're just gonna have to make some skinny bars here. Yeah. All right, so this bar, definitely we can see the close is lower than the 25% there, right? Yeah, there you go, I'll just flip it around. So now it's 25% is at the bottom there. All right, so let's keep scrolling on our chart here. And, oh, wow. Okay, so I am missing a whole bunch of data. Oh, that's right. The second was a half a trading day. But anyways, but yeah, keep in mind though that sometimes, you're going to be missing data on your chart here. So you can see it goes from July 1st to July 4th. So let me close that out and let me reload my historical data. Try and get that fixed. Okay, while I'm waiting on that, let me take a look at the Q&A window. And all right, yeah, there's no new comments. Okay. So we'll just keep on going here. Oh, let's see here. All right, so on the 5th, March 5th is saying March 5th qualifies. Oh, I'm missing. So I don't have a daily bar for March 5th. Interesting. Oh, no wonder. All right. Geez. So, yeah, reminder, make sure that when you're setting up your charts, yeah, make sure you have everything, set up correctly. I did not uh, change this chart here from the RTH session. So, no wonder I was looking at the wrong information. All right, let's get this fixed. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I misspoke earlier. July 5th was a US holiday. So it does not show up as a daily bar. Yeah, there is no daily bar data for the holiday, but it does show up on my minute chart. All right, so I will just have to ignore March 5th. Yeah, okay, there we go. So on the left of my chart, right, this is Friday, July the 2nd, and then we have Sunday, the 4th. Right, so July the 4th was a Sunday. So you got to keep in mind that this daily data, right, you don't see this daily data until the bar's closed. So basically, July 2nd, that day has to close, and then you have this daily data. So when this closes, basically on the next day when it opens, you have your results. So here we go. So and yeah, that's right. July 4th was a really short trading day. So, but on July 4th, we get our long signals because, right, the daily bar, the close was below that 25% there. So here's our long signal from the daily bar on, right, the day after the daily bar closes. As you should be aware that, right, the session closes at, oh, let's see, when is it? At 6 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, I believe it's 6 p.m. Eastern. So after 6 p.m., that's July 4th. Yeah, so we go from July 2nd, and then we have to wait for Sunday to open. And then when Sunday, July 4th opens. Yeah, since this was a weekend, it was a little weird situation there. So let's see if we can find another daily bar here that's not on the weekend, that's not on a Friday. Okay, so let's see here. So June 29th. All right, so we have another bar here on June 29th that closes in the lower 25%. So let's go to June 29th. Or actually, it's going to be June 30th is when we're going to see the results. All right. And yeah, so we're not seeing a signal here on June 30th from our June 29th bar. And that's because, pull this up here. Yeah, if you remember, I really lowered the ATR percentage here way too much. Yeah, I think 0.15 is way too much. I am not sure why we're not getting any results here. Well, interesting. So we're getting a short output here. Yeah, so we still have July 2nd working. You know, maybe I don't have enough data on my chart. Yeah, so here we go. So this long signal here, you know, showing up basically at the end of the 30th, or for really for July 1st, right, when the July 1st bar starts. We have this long output, right? And that's because the close here, right, our closing price here is just barely in the, you know, top 25% of the bar. Yeah, yeah, so this is correct. And I should be getting a short here, but let me add, you know, like I said, maybe I'm just a couple of days short. So let me add a few more days of data here. Let me just knock that up to 20 days. Ah, there it is. Yep. So I just did not have enough data on my chart to properly calculate the daily bar. Yeah, so there we go. So this bar here is the 29th. And so here, when the 29th bar closes, right where my cursor's at, that's when the daily session closes and the next daily bar begins. And so then when it opens, there we get a long output there. There we go. Just needed, so, you know, hopefully this kind of illustrates to you guys, it is important to make sure that, you know, that you got all the data loaded. So you can see that sometimes, you know, NinjaTrader does not load all the data. Sometimes you might have a day and a half of data missing on your chart, or sometimes you just don't have enough data, loaded onto the chart, enough days of data loaded onto the chart. So, just make sure that you have enough days loaded, and sometimes you do need to hit that reload historical data every once in a while as well. So there, it took us a while, but we finally got there. All right, so here is the first part, identifying when the daily bar closes, within the lower 25%. Right? And of course, we're only interested in long signals. So if we go back here, we're not interested in generating short signals, and the opposite. So what we'll do is within our solver here, we're going to set the evaluate to long onlys, right? We want this solver to only generate or evaluate long signals. All right, so let's see here. So we have part one here accomplished. Well, partially accomplished. Now, the key is that we only want a signal at 1:30 in the morning Eastern time. So let's take care of that. So let's open up BloodHound. And if you recall, we already have a threshold solver that identifies the 1:30 a.m. bar. So all we need to do, and again, this, right, let's take a look at this again. All right, so there's our signal, right, for my time zone. So I'm going to go in here and just adjust this. So instead of trying to do all this time zone conversion, let me just set it up as if I'm on the East Coast here. So I'll just set it up for 1:30 there. So you will need to adjust the time within the indicator, to match your time zone. So, but the other thing I wanted to point out is that we're not interested in the short output, right? The system only generates long signals when appropriate. So I'm actually going to turn off this short output here. I'm turning that off. We're only interested in generating long signals there. So I'll keep that. And so now we need to take an AND node and combine that in there. So here's the daily bar, requirement, and then here is the 1:30 point in time, the 1:30 time period, time identifier. And so with that, there would be our signal. So if we go to the next day, there we go. So 1:30 the next day, no signal. All right, so let's see here. Let's give this a name. And we need to name our logic template here. Kind of name the system here. So, all right, so there is our daily close lower and the 1:30 a.m. signal. So there's part one. All right, so now we need to generate a signal at 5:30 a.m. to close any open contracts, right? To close these open contracts. So we're going to need a new logic template. Okay, so we're just going to create a generic 5:30 a.m. exit signal. So let's see here. What should I do? Yeah, I'm going to take a little shortcut here. So I'm going to make a copy of my 1:30 a.m. signal. Right, let's make a copy of that. And we'll adjust this so that it generates a signal at 5:30 a.m. And so next we need to go into the time block indicator and simply adjust the indicator time, right? So the begin time is going to now be 5:30, right? And we still want to identify the start bar, which is the 5:30 bar. But since this is going to be closing out, exiting long positions, a long trade, this needs a short output, right? So it's a short signal is what exits a long trade, right? A short signal exits a long trade. So we need to turn this short on because this is an exit, right? So actually we can call this, there we go. So the 5:30 a.m. exit signal. And so we have the short output turned off. I left the long output on. It doesn't matter. The long output's not going to do anything unless if you have a short position open, then this long output would close that short position. But this system is not designed, well, actually, no, this system does take shorts. Yeah, it does take shorts, but there's not going to be any shorts open. I mean, if you wanted to, yeah, we could turn this off, no big deal. And then we could clarify this. So we could clarify this and just say that this is a long exit signal because only the short output is turned on, right? So with the long output turned off, this solver does not have the ability to close a short position. It can only close a long position now. So let's name this here. All right, so let's go grab that new node. There's our 5:30 long exit signal node and connect that in. All right. So let's take a look here. All right, so there we go. There's our signal right there, right at 5:30. So that short signal will can be used to exit a long position, right, within BloodHound. So of course, the one thing that you know we haven't been talking about or mentioning, right, is that all of these signals are in preparation to be hooked into Blackbird, right, into the Blackbird strategy. Right? So these are all the various signal kind of components that Blackbird needs to know, when to place a trade at 1:30 or not, when to close a position at 5:30 and things like that. So we're generating all of these various signals here for Blackbird to use. Okay, so now step 2 or part 2. We're going to open 3 contracts short at the open, right? All right, so overnight, you know, based on the lower the lower session close, all right, it's going to try to go short overnight. But then when the market does open, it's going to take a short trade at the open. Of course, based on the previous day's, close. So what we need, right? So in order to generate this short signal here at the market open, we need to go back to, go back to our logic template that's generating, the overnight long trade. Sorry, yeah, I got that backwards. It's an overnight long trade. And then the next one, short. All right, so we need to take, this daily bar, identifier, All right, this is identifying if that daily bar closed in the lower, quarter, right? And of course, that's the prerequisite to going short at the market open. So we're going to take this logic template and we're going to make a copy of it. All right, and let's make a copy of it. There we go. Okay, so here's the new signal name for the second part here. Right, so now it's become a prior daily close lower, and a 9:30 market open short signal. So we need to remove that 130 threshold solver. And let's see here. So if you remember, right, this solver here actually was locked to long only signals. So, all right. So let's do some adjustments here. So actually I deleted both of those solvers. So making a copy of my logic template didn't really get me anywhere. So, but let's go in and let's go make some tweaks here. So this daily, right? So this daily bar solver here. Yeah, there's two ways I can go about this. I'm going to go a different route than what I originally planned. So this solver is now, it's now going to output long and short signals. Right? Oh, yeah, there we go. We can actually see it on the chart. So we have a long and a short output now, right? When the daily bar closes at the lower 25%, both a long and a short output. So instead, what I'm going to do is let's go back to our overnight trade here, our overnight signal at 1:30, and let's go find that signal here. There we go. All right, so we can see here at 1:30 a.m. we're still getting a long output, and right, if we look at oh, here's the adjustment I needed to make. Okay, there we go. So for input B, I adjusted my price type short for input B to low, to the low price and low price. All right, so now our comparison solver is generating a long and a short output, if the bar closes at the lower 25%. So we're getting a long and a short output. And there. So we're still getting a long signal at 1:30 because, remember, our threshold solver here, right, that's identifying the 1:30 bar, it only has a long output. Remember, I turned off the short output. So there we go. So our 1:30 signal is still good. Did not need any adjustments. Our 5:30 exit signal is still good. We didn't change anything with that solver, right? That's just a single solver. And so now let's go back to our 9:30 a.m. market open. And we're going to need, there we go. We're going to need our daily bar solver back. There. Okay, so there's 1:30 on our chart. And so now we need a 9:30 solver, right? A 9:30 a.m. threshold solver. So we have one for 1 a.m. We have one for 5:30 a.m. So now let's make a copy of that. And now we're going to make one for 9:30 a.m. There. So at 9:30, we're going to generate a short signal, a short entry signal. So we need to go into the time block indicator again. So remember, I'm editing this new solver I just made for 9:30. So we still have the 5:30 solver and we still have the 1:30 a.m. solver. So editing the 9:30 a.m. solver, we need to go into the time block indicator and adjust our time for 9:30. Mark it open. Click OK. So there we have a new solver now for 9:30 a.m. So now back to the logic tab. Let's go into our existing nodes, default time frame, and there is our 9:30 solver. Connect that in, connect that up, and voila, there is our 9:30 market open signal. All right, so that's number 2. So now we want to close one contract at 10 a.m. Let's see. Oh, Tam, yeah, I don't think you mentioned what ON stands for yet. I don't remember seeing that in your comments. So if you could tell me what ON stands for, we'll get that done. But we still need a couple more signals at 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. All right, so we'll have to go through and make those. So let's, I guess it doesn't matter which one I pick. So again, I'm just making a copy of these threshold solvers here and adjusting the time. All right, so I have 2 new threshold solvers made for the 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. So now I just need to go in and adjust my indicator. There. So there's 10 a.m. Call it good. And I need to adjust the output here. So remember, this is at 10 a.m. We want a short exit signal, right? We want to exit a short trade. So we need a long output, right? So going back to our instructions, we're going to open short contracts, right? A short position. So at 10:30, we're exiting a short position, and at 11:30, we're exiting short position. So our solver here to exit, so for a short exit, to exit a short position, we need a long signal, right? We need a long output. A long output closes a short trade. So there. All right. So now let's finish setting up the 11:30 exit signal. And again, that needs to be a long output, like so. And then I need to go into the time block indicator and adjust that time there. All right, there's 11:30. Call that good. All right, so I'm done setting up these new solvers here to exit at those specific times. So let's go back to our logic board here. And there, I'm just going to copy that name. So I'm going to make a new logic template. All right, so we're generating a, oops, I'm missing a zero, well, actually, yeah, we'll just shorten that up. So we're generating a 10 a.m. short position exit signal. And so that is going to be our 10 a.m. short exit signal solver, right? So existing nodes, default time frame, and our 10 a.m. solver. So let's connect that up. Oh, and we just happen to have 10 a.m. on the chart. So very good. Yeah, so there's 10 a.m. and there's 11 a.m. on the edge of the chart. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to clarify some of these logic template names there. All right, so here's the logic template for the 11:30 short position exit signal. So let's remove that solver and put the correct one on the board. There we go. There's our 11:30 a.m. short exit position. And there we go. So there is our long signal to exit, to exit that short trade. All right, so let me take a look at the overnight. Okay, of course. 50% of the overnight range. All right. Well, yeah, so I don't have a definition of what the overnight range is there. And I'm gonna take an educated guess here and say that you're probably gonna need, I'm very certain here, that you're gonna need an indicator to calculate what that overnight range is. So that way, yeah, you're going to need an indicator to calculate what that 50% of the overnight range is, right? That's a very customized definition, right? So your overnight range probably needs a custom start time and end time, for that range. And then you'll need an indicator to calculate, well, what is that 50% of that overnight range? Yeah, so whatever that is there. Yeah, okay, right, yeah. So we'll have to take a pass on that one. I think we're done for the Bloodhound portion of this. So all the rest would be, Blackbird. So let's review what we have. So let's run through everything one at a time. All right, so let's take a look at our 1 a.m. long entry signal. And there we go, right there next to my cursor. So there is our 1 a.m. long entry signal. And we now have a 5:30, long position exit signal. Right, so if there are any open trades still at 5:30, well, all those open positions will be closed out. And all right, so next is the 9:30 market open. All right, so there's the market open short trade right there. And here's the 10 a.m. exit, exit signal. So this is an exit signal, so it's a long to exit a short trade. And then the 11:30 exit signal. So here we go. Here it is over here. So again, this is a long signal or a long output because it's exiting or closing out a short trade. Yeah. All right. So there we have it. A long entry at 1:30, a exit signal at 5:30 to exit those long positions, a short entry signal at market open, a exit signal to close out the short positions at 10, and then another exit signal at 11:30. There we have it. So for each, you know, part of that system, required separate signals for each component, or well, for each time of day. Yeah, for each time of day, right? We had to generate a separate logic template so we can get a signal at each of those various time points throughout the day. Right. So there we have it. So let me take a look at the Q&A window here. See what we have. All right. Yeah, you're welcome there, Tam. Let's see. Yeah, Tam saying, yeah, would we be able to put this in Blackbird tomorrow? Absolutely. You bet. Yeah, let's see. You emailed this in. So yeah, I will just save your email for tomorrow's workshop as well as a part 2, along with Lance's question as well. So Lance had a question, a part 2 Blackbird component to his question. So yeah. All right. And yeah, it looks complicated. It really was the explanation, breaking everything down to explain what's going on. That was the complicated part. Really, I mean, if you look at this is really simple system, right? It's only one solver, right? So these exit signals are just one solver, you know, with the time block indicator identifying, these different time points throughout the day. So really, the logic, the system is simple. You know, I mean, even these the entry logic is simple, right? It's 2 solvers here, right? It's one solver identifying your daily bar requirement, condition, and then again another solver here to identify, the correct time of day, right? To identify the correct minute bar, for that time of day. So, right, so that only took 2 solvers. So again, here's an exit signal, only one solver, and another entry signal, and again, that's only 2 solvers. So really, the system is very simple, but of course, breaking it all down so that, new traders can understand, what's going on, that's what took 90% of the time. Really, this could have all been whipped out really in 15 minutes, with if an explanation was not needed. So